Today's April 5th, and today we're going to talk about self-control. And the quote for today is entitled, "Self-control is the foundation of success." We may know many things and have many skills, but without self-discipline, we won't use them well, or perhaps we won't even use them at all. And here's a definition by a person named Albert Hubbard. Self-discipline is the ability to make yourself do what you should do when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. This is true materially and spiritually. It's not just true spiritually, although in Krishna consciousness, certainly we emphasize self-control. Materially, people emphasize self-control in specific situations when they want to get things done, but they also emphasize enjoying your senses or letting yourself go out of control because they believe that's enjoyment. We don't do that in Krishna consciousness. So, self-control. If we don't have self-control, perhaps we'll have some skills, intelligence, but we'll get diverted by other things. We become lazy and, distracted. We all have experience of that. Statistically speaking, the most successful people in the world are not the most intelligent. They're not the people with the most skills. They're the people who are self-disciplined, optimistic, and also happy. So, as we're saying here, you may have skills, you may have intelligence, but without self-discipline, without focus, you won't be able to utilize it. Also, what we said here is that you may not be able to utilize it well, or you may not be able to utilize it at all. And then we gave the definition of self-control, which is I think it's a very good definition as a guideline. To do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, even if you don't feel like it. So that idea, I know I should do something, and then we don't do it, is because we don't feel like it. If we felt like it, we would do it. So self-discipline is the ability to overcome the feeling or the reluctance or the inability to do something. And often we procrastinate, I'll do it later. Self-discipline is do it now. You probably realize that things that you don't like to do, you tend to put off, and sometimes they never get done. And a lot of those things that you don't like to do are important to do, and by not doing them, they create problems for you. We all have that experience. So self-discipline means that I will do it, even I don't feel like it, even it's not pleasant. Maybe it's even painful. If you could live your life that way, do you realize materially and spiritually how much more successful you'll be? How much, and ultimately, easier your life will be? Because life is difficult in many cases because we don't do what we should be doing because we don't feel like it. Or sometimes we do something we shouldn't do because we felt like it and we didn't feel like not doing it. And it created problems. And sometimes we are still suffering years later for doing something we felt like doing that we shouldn't have done. So discipline also means to not do what you feel like doing and to do what you don't feel like doing. So it's really a mastery over emotions. And I know a lot of devotees, maybe they don't look at emotional mastery the way they look at sensual mastery, but it's the same thing. We have to be able to master our feelings so our feelings don't control us. And if our feelings control us, unless we're Krishna conscious, that could be a huge problem. Because in Krishna consciousness, we need to focus on priorities, what's important. If we allow our emotions to cloud us, we'll focus on what's not important. The other thing is, if our emotions cloud us, sometimes we can't understand the philosophy because we're looking at it through an emotional lens. And I've seen this many times. Sometimes we just want to prove somebody wrong, and that's how we see the philosophy, through a lens of proving someone wrong or proving that I'm right. That's a bit of an emotional response to the philosophy. Anyway, these are some thoughts. I think it's self-evident, but it's just a reminder for all of us that our lives will be so much better, our Krishna consciousness will be so much better if we have more self-control. And the last thing I want to say is that you and I have more power to control ourselves than we might believe. And if you understand that Krishna did give us choice and free will, and that so many times when we think we can't control ourselves, we can, and it really means we don't want to, not that we can't. So when you're in a situation when you're feeling you can't control yourself, and you say to yourself, actually, I can, but I don't want to, that brings you to the reality of the situation. And by understanding that you can, and you're choosing not to, then you realize you could choose to in that situation, and it makes it easier to choose. Some thoughts I think will help you make the right choices. Discipline yourself more, control your emotions in better ways. Hare Krishna.